The alarm bells rang through the space station like angry wasps. Lieutenant Zekra jumped from his chair and stared at the screen in front of him. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "Sir, we have an unknown contact," he called to his commander. "Admiral," Cathvar walked over quickly. His forearms moved fast as he pulled up the data on his own screen. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled space for 300 years. They knew every ship design. They knew every race that could build spaceships. But this thing on their sensors made no sense. "What am I looking at?" Cathvar asked. The ship was huge, as big as their largest warships, but it looked different from anything they had ever seen. The hull was dark, almost black. It seemed to eat light instead of reflecting it. The shape was strange, too. Sharp angles and flat surfaces. Not like the smooth, curved ships the Empire built. "Run it through the database," Cathvar ordered. Zekra's claws clicked on his control panel. The computer searched through records of every known ship design, every conquered race, every enemy they had ever fought. The search came back empty. "Nothing, sir. No matches at all." Cathvar felt a chill run down his spine. In 3 centuries, the Empire had never found a ship they could not identify. They had conquered 37 different species. They had seen every type of technology these races could build, but this ship was completely unknown. "Energy readings?" he asked. "That's the strange part, sir. Almost no energy output. It's barely registering on our sensors. Whatever powers that ship, it's nothing like our fusion reactors or antimatter engines." The unknown ship drifted through the Helix Nebula like a ghost. It moved slowly, but there was something about the way it moved that bothered Cathvar. It seemed too controlled, too purposeful, like it knew exactly where it was going. "Send a message to Imperial Command," Cathvar said. "Tell them we have an unidentified vessel, unknown design, unknown race." While they waited for orders, more ships arrived. The Empire always sent reinforcements when something unusual happened. Soon, 12 Imperial warships surrounded the mysterious vessel. Their weapons were charged and ready. Their shields were up. But the strange ship did nothing. It just stopped moving and floated in space. "Why isn't it running?" Zekra asked. "Or fighting?" That was what worried Cathvar the most. Every other race had either fought or tried to escape when they first met the Empire. This ship just sat there, like it was waiting for something. The high Imperial ships were beautiful to look at. Golden hulls that gleamed in the starlight, smooth curves and elegant designs, weapon ports that glowed with ready energy. They represented the power and glory of the Empire. Next to them, the dark ship looked ugly and simple, but there was something about it that made Cathvar nervous. It looked built for war, not the ceremonial war that the Empire was used to, real war, dirty war, the kind of war where only winning mattered. "Admiral," the communications officer called. "Out." "Imperial Command is ordering us to attempt contact." Cathvar nodded. "Open a channel on all frequencies, all known languages." The message went out in 37 different languages, the common trade language, the old Imperial tongue, even the primitive languages of recently conquered worlds. They offered greeting, demanded identification, and warned of consequences for entering Imperial space without permission. The dark ship remained silent. "No response, sir." "Try again. Add our translator protocols. Maybe they speak something we haven't heard before." Again, nothing. The ship just floated there like a dead thing. But Cathvar could see small lights moving along its hull. It was definitely alive. There was someone or something inside. Hours passed. More Imperial ships arrived until a full fleet surrounded the mysterious vessel. 30 ships in total. Enough. Firepower to destroy a small planet. But still, the dark ship did nothing. "This is making me nervous," Zekra said quietly. Cathvar agreed, but he would not show it. Fear was weakness, and the Empire did not tolerate weakness. "It's just one ship. Even if it has weapons, what can one ship do against our entire fleet?" But even as he said it, Kethvar wondered. The Empire had won every war by having better ships and better weapons. They had never faced an unknown technology before. What if this ship had weapons they had never seen? What if their shields could not stop whatever this thing might fire at them? Sir, I'm reading some kind of scanning beam from the target. Kethvar looked at his sensors. The dark ship was indeed scanning them, very carefully and very thoroughly. It was learning about their ships, their weapons, their defenses. Return. Scan. I want to know everything about that ship. But their scans bounced off the dark hull like light off a mirror. Whatever that ship was made of, it did not want to be scanned. I can't penetrate their hull, sir. Some kind of stealth material. Now Kethvar was truly worried. A ship that could not be scanned was a ship with secrets. And secrets usually meant, danger! Signal the fleet. All ships to battle stations. If that thing makes any aggressive moves, destroy it immediately. The Imperial fleet spread out in attack formation. Energy weapons charged to full power. Missile tubes loaded and ready. 30 of the Empire's best warships against one unknown vessel. But something was wrong. Kethvar could feel it in his bones. This ship had not run when it saw them coming. It had not tried to hide. It had not even tried to talk. It just sat there and watched them, like it was studying them. What are they waiting for? Zekra asked. That was the question that kept going through Kethvar's mind. What were they waiting for? Did they have reinforcements coming? Were they sending a message to their home world? Or were they just taking their time to learn everything they could about Imperial ships and weapons? Admiral, we're getting new orders from Imperial Command. Kethvar read the message and felt his blood turn cold. Emperor Vexthanor himself had made the decision. The unknown ship was to be captured, boarded, its technology studied, its crew taken prisoner. It was exactly what the Empire always did when they found something new. Take it by force, study it, use it to make the Empire stronger. But looking at that dark, silent ship, Kethvar had a terrible feeling that this time might be different. This time, they might be making a mistake, a very big mistake. Prepare boarding parties, he ordered, full assault teams, battle armor and heavy weapons. As his soldiers got ready to board the mysterious ship, Kethvar stared at it through the view screen. It still sat there quietly, still waiting, still watching. He wondered what it was thinking, what it was planning, and why it did not seem afraid of 30 Imperial warships pointing weapons at it. Soon he would find out. And he had a feeling he would not like the answer. Emperor Vexthanor sat on his golden throne and looked at the reports coming in from the outer sectors. His empire stretched across 47 star systems. Billions of beings bowed to his will. He had never lost a battle, never faced a real challenge. The news about the unknown ship should have worried him, but instead, it excited him. A new technology, he said to his advisors. Something we have never seen before. Think of what we could learn from it. General Thakmor, his chief military advisor, was not so sure. My lord, perhaps we should be more careful. We know nothing about this ship or who built it. The emperor laughed. His voice echoed through the great throne room. Careful? We are the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered every race we have ever met. What can one ship do against our might? It was true. For 300 years, the Empire had won every war. They had better ships, better weapons, better soldiers. They had never met anyone who could stand against them for long. Bring me that ship, the Emperor commanded. I want to see this new technology for myself. The order went out across space to Admiral Kethvar's fleet. The mysterious ship was to be captured, its crew taken prisoner, its secrets stolen. Kethvar received the order with growing dread. Something about that dark ship made him nervous. It sat there too calmly, like it was not afraid of them at all. Sir, boarding party's ready, Captain Mortis reported. Mortis was the best soldier in the fleet. He had led boarding actions against dozens of enemy ships. His assault teams had never failed to take their target. Remember, Kethvar told him. "We want prisoners, and we want that ship intact. The Emperor wants to study their technology." "Understood, sir. My teams will secure the ship and capture anyone we find aboard." Mortis gathered his soldiers on the assault ship. 50 of the Empire's best fighters, all wearing heavy battle armor, all carrying the finest weapons the Empire could build. They had done this many times before. Board an enemy ship, kill anyone who fought back, capture the rest. It was simple, and it always worked. "Listen up," Mortis told his troops. "Unknown ship means unknown weapons. Stay alert. Watch each other's backs. But remember, they're probably just another primitive race that got lucky with one good ship design." The assault pods launched from the Imperial fleet. Small, fast ships designed to cut through enemy hulls and deliver soldiers directly into the target. They had been used in hundreds of battles. They always worked. The pods hit the dark ship's hull and began cutting through. The metal was strange, harder than most ship armor, but Imperial cutting tools were the best in the galaxy. Soon they had holes big enough for soldiers to climb through. Mortis was the first one inside. His helmet lights showed him a corridor, unlike any he had seen before. The walls were gray metal, simple and functional. No decorations, no wasted space. "Spread out," he ordered his teams. "Secure the ship section by section." The corridors were the right size for his soldiers. Whatever lived on this ship was about the same size as a Zephyrian. That was good. It meant their weapons and armor would work normally. But the ship felt wrong somehow. Too quiet. Too empty. "Team Alpha, report," Mortis said into his radio. "Corridor. Secured. No contacts. These walls are really thick, Captain, and there are strange panels everywhere." "Team Beta, report." "Same here. Empty corridor. Lots of doors, but they're all sealed. Should we cut through them?" "Negative. Find the main computer or control room first. We need to understand this ship's layout." Mortis led his team deeper into the ship. The corridors were clean and well lit. The air was breathable. Everything looked functional but simple. Like whoever built this ship cared more about making it work than making it look good. "Captain, I found something," one of his soldiers called out. Mortis hurried over. His soldier was looking at a panel covered with strange symbols, not like any writing system they knew. "Take pictures of everything," Mortis ordered. "Intelligence. We'll want to study this." They moved through more corridors, found more rooms, all empty, all clean, all strange. "Where is everyone?" one soldier asked. "This ship is huge. There should be hundreds of crew members." Mortis was wondering the same thing. Every ship they had ever boarded before had crew. Usually they fought back. Sometimes they tried to hide, but there was always someone aboard. This ship felt like a ghost. "Team Gamma, report." Static answered him. "Team Gamma, respond." More static. Mortis felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of boarding actions, he had never lost radio contact with his teams. "Team Alpha, status report. Wait. Captain, I'm hearing something. Sounds like... Oh no! Oh no!" The radio went dead. "Alpha team, respond! Alpha team!" Nothing. Mortis gathered his remaining soldiers around him. "Something's wrong. We're pulling back to the pods." But as they turned to leave, they found the corridor blocked. A figure stood in their way, tall and slim, wearing strange armor that seemed to blend with the shadows. The armor was dark like the ship's hull. It had no decorations, just smooth, functional surfaces. "Who are you?" Mortis demanded, raising his weapon. The figure did not answer. It moved faster than anything Mortis had ever seen. One moment it was standing still. The next moment it was among his soldiers. The battle was over in seconds. Imperial weapons fired but hit nothing. The figure moved like liquid shadow, striking with hands and feet and small weapons that made no sound. One by one, Mortis's soldiers fell unconscious. Mortis himself was the last to fall. As darkness closed in, he saw more figures appearing from side corridors. all wearing the same dark armor, all moving with the same impossible speed. His last thought was that they had made a terrible mistake. Back on the Imperial flagship, Admiral Kethvar listened to the radio reports with growing horror. First one team went silent, then another, then all of them. "Sir, we've lost contact with all boarding parties," his communications officer reported. "Send more teams. Double the size." "Sir, should we contact the Emperor?" Kethvar stared at the dark ship floating peacefully among his fleet. It looked the same as before. No signs of battle, no damage, no debris. But somehow 50 of the Empire's best soldiers had just vanished inside it. "Yes," he said quietly. "Contact the Emperor. Tell him we may have a problem. A big problem." Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Retribution and watched her crew work. They moved with quiet efficiency, doing their jobs without wasted motion or unnecessary talk. This was how humans fought wars. Calm, professional, deadly. "Status report," she said. "All boarding parties neutralized," Sergeant Martinez reported. 50 prisoners secured in Holding Bay 2. No casualties on our side." Chen nodded. It had gone exactly as planned. The aliens had walked into their ship like they owned it. They had never even considered that it might be a trap. "What about their technology?" she asked. Lieutenant Park looked up from his analysis station. "Plasma weapons, energy shields, basic battle armor. About what we expected from our long-range observations. Nothing that can penetrate our armor or hurt our ship." Chen had been watching the Zephyrian Empire for 18 months. Ever since Earth's deep space probes detected their expansion toward human colonies. The decision to send the Retribution on this mission had caused huge arguments back home. Some people wanted immediate contact, try to talk to the aliens, maybe become friends. Others wanted to pull back, hide Earth's location, and hope the aliens never found them. But Admiral Zhang had convinced the Earth government to try a different approach. Learn about the enemy first. Study their technology, understand their tactics, then decide what to do. They fight like bullies, Chen said, reviewing the data from the boarding action. They expect everyone to be weaker than them. When someone doesn't run away or surrender immediately, they don't know what to do. It was a common pattern in human history. Empires that won too easily for too long got soft. They forgot how to fight real wars against equal opponents. "Commander, the alien fleet is moving," Ensign Roberts called out. Chen looked at the main screen. The 30 Imperial ships were changing formation, getting ready to attack. "Right on schedule," she said. "They lost their boarding parties, so now they'll try to destroy us. Just like they always do." The Retribution had been observing Zephyrian tactics for months. They always followed the same pattern. First, try to board and capture. If that failed, destroy the target with overwhelming firepower. It worked against most enemies. But humans were not most enemies. "All hands, battle stations," Chen announced. "This is not a drill. We are about to engage hostile alien forces." The ship came alive around her. Blast doors sealed, weapon systems powered up. The crew moved to their combat positions with practiced speed. Chen had served in the Earth Defense Force for 15 years. She had fought in the Martian War and the Asteroid Rebellion. She knew how to command a ship in battle. But this was different. This was humanity's first contact with alien life, and it was going to be a fight. "Enemy ships charging weapons," Roberts reported. "Let them come," Chen said. "Activate stealth systems. All weapons to stand by." The Retribution vanished from Zephyrian sensors. Its hull absorbed radar and heat signatures. Its engines ran silent. To the aliens, it would look like their ship had just disappeared. Chen watched the alien fleet spread out in attack formation. Their ships were beautiful in their own way. Golden hulls that caught the starlight, smooth curves and elegant designs. They looked like something built to show off wealth and power. Human ships looked different. Gray and black hulls covered with armor plating, sharp angles and flat surfaces designed to deflect incoming fire. They were built for one purpose only. "War! Incoming missiles!" Roberts called out. "Point defense, engage!" The Retribution's automated defense systems came online. Laser turrets tracked the incoming missiles and shot them down one by one. The aliens had fired over 100 missiles. None of them reached their target. Energy weapons firing. Beams of plasma energy struck where the Retribution had been moments before. But the ship was no longer there. It had moved to a new position while remaining invisible to enemy sensors. "They can't see us," Park reported with satisfaction. "Their sensors are looking for ships like theirs. We're too different." Chen smiled. Human technology had developed differently than Zephyrian technology. Humans had learned to fight wars where being seen meant being killed. They had invented stealth systems, electronic warfare, and deception tactics. The Zephyrians had learned to fight wars where being seen meant the enemy surrendered. They had never needed to hide or trick their opponents. "Open a channel to Earth," Chen ordered. "Priority Alpha." The quantum communication system connected her directly to Admiral Zhang at Fleet Command. The message would travel instantly across hundreds of light years. "Admiral, this is Commander Chen aboard the Retribution. Contact has been made with the Zephyrian Empire. They are hostile and aggressive. Recommend immediate deployment of task. Force Nemesis." Zhang's response came back quickly. "Understood, Commander. Task Force Nemesis is already in position. Begin Phase 2 of the operation." Chen turned to her crew. "You heard the Admiral. Phase 2 is go. All ships, this is Retribution Actual. Execute Plan Omega." Across the Zephyrian Empire, things began to happen. Ships that had been hiding for months suddenly appeared. Space stations that had seemed empty came online. Communication networks that the aliens thought were natural phenomena started broadcasting human signals. The truth was about to come out. Humanity had not just sent one ship to contact the Zephyrians. They had sent hundreds. They had been watching every major Zephyrian world. They had been studying every fleet movement. They had been preparing for this moment for over a year. "Enemy. Fleet is trying to surround us," Roberts reported. "Let them try," Chen said. "Weapons free. Target their command ship first." The Retribution dropped out of stealth mode and opened fire. Its railguns launched tungsten projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy was enormous, enough to punch through any armor. The Zephyrian flagship's shields flared and died. The tungsten slug punched through its hull like it was made of paper. Secondary explosions rippled through the ship as its power systems overloaded. Direct hit. Enemy flagship is dead in space. The other Zephyrian ships fired back, but their plasma beams could not lock onto the fast-moving human ship. The Retribution danced between their attacks, firing its railguns with deadly precision. One by one, the Imperial ships began to die. "This is too easy," Sergeant Martinez said, watching the battle from his position. "That's the point," Chen replied. "They've been winning fights for 300 years. They've forgotten how to fight someone who can actually hurt them." But Chen knew this was just the beginning. The real war was about to start, and when it did, the Zephyrian Empire was going to learn what humans had learned long ago. In war, the strong do not always win. The smart do. Admiral Zhang stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface and watched the greatest military operation in human history begin. On screens around him, he could see star maps showing the entire Zephyrian Empire. Red dots marked every major world, every fleet base, every important target. Today, they would all be attacked at once. "All task forces report ready," his aide announced. Zhang nodded. "Execute Operation Thunderstrike. All units are weapons free." Across 47 star systems, human fleets materialized out of quantum space. They had been traveling for weeks. Through dimensions the Zephyrians did not even know existed. Now they appeared everywhere at once, like ghosts becoming real. The plan was simple, but devastating. Hit every important target simultaneously. Give the enemy no time to coordinate a defense, no time to call for help, no time to think. It was a strategy born from humanity's bloodiest wars. When facing a larger enemy, you did not fight fair. You fought smart. Emperor Vexithanor was eating his morning meal when the first reports came in. A servant ran into his dining hall, fear written across his face. "My lord, we are under attack." The emperor dropped his cup. "What? Who dares attack the capital?" "Not just the capital, my lord. We're getting reports from across the empire. Unknown. Ships appearing everywhere. They're attacking all our major worlds at once." Vexthanor felt the blood drain from his face. "That's impossible. It would take thousands of ships to attack our entire empire simultaneously." But even as he said it, he knew it was true. The mysterious ship that had appeared at their borders had not been alone. It had been a scout, the first sign of an invasion force larger than anything the empire had ever faced. "Get me General Thackmore immediately!" But General Thackmore was dead. His fleet base at Karis Prime had been the first target hit. A dozen human ships had appeared without warning and destroyed his entire command in less than an hour. On the fortress world of Tala 7, Admiral Kethvar was trying to understand what was happening. His fleet had been reinforced after the incident with the mysterious ship. Now he commanded over 60 vessels. It should have been enough to defend against any attack. But the human ships that appeared around his world were unlike anything he had ever seen. They were smaller than Imperial ships, but incredibly fast. They appeared from nowhere, fired their terrible weapons, then vanished again before his gunners could target them. "How many ships are we facing?" he asked his sensor operator. "I don't know, sir. They keep disappearing and reappearing. I count 12, no, 20. Wait, now there are only 8 visible." The humans were using hit-and-run tactics. They would appear, destroy a target, then jump back into quantum space before the Zephyrians could respond. It was impossible to fight an enemy you could not see or predict. "Sir, the orbital defense platforms are under attack." Kethavar watched in horror as the massive weapons platforms that protected his world exploded one by one. Each platform was the size of a small moon and armed with enough firepower to destroy a fleet. But the human ships were not fighting them head-on. They were using precision strikes to hit critical systems, causing the platforms to destroy themselves. "They know exactly where to hit," his tactical officer said in amazement. "They know our weaknesses better than we do." It was true. Humanity had been studying Zephyrian technology for months. They knew every design flaw, every vulnerable point, every tactical weakness. While the Empire had been confident in their superiority, humans had been preparing for war. On the mining world of Borak 3, the local garrison commander watched his defense fleet die in minutes. The human ships moved like living things, flowing around his formations and striking where his defenses were weakest. "Send a distress signal to Imperial Command," he ordered. "Sir, Imperial Command is not responding. I think they're under attack too." The realization hit him like a physical blow. This was not a raid or a limited attack. This was a full-scale invasion of the entire empire. And somehow, this unknown enemy had the ships and coordination to attack everywhere at once. "Who are they?" he whispered. Captain Sarah Chen led her squadron in the attack on the Karis Prime fleet base. This was where the Empire's best admiral had died, the one who had first encountered the Retribution. It was also the largest fleet concentration in this sector. "Targets locked," her weapons officer reported. "Fire!" The human ships opened up with their railguns and missile batteries. The Zephyrian ships tried to respond, but they were designed for fighting slower, more predictable enemies. The humans struck from multiple directions at once, using coordinated attacks that overwhelmed individual ship defenses. "Enemy flagship is breaking apart," someone reported. Chen watched the massive Imperial battleship die. It had been beautiful, once with golden armor and elegant weapon arrays. Now it was just burning wreckage drifting in space. "Move to next target. Keep the pressure up." This was how humans fought wars. Fast, coordinated, relentless. Never give the enemy time to recover or regroup. Keep hitting them until they broke. Emperor Vexthanor stood in his command center and tried to make sense of the reports flooding in. Every world was under attack. Every fleet was being destroyed. His empire was falling apart in real time. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. "We estimate at least 3,000, my lord." "Maybe more. They keep appearing in new locations." 3,000 ships. The Empire's total fleet was only about 2,000 vessels, and they were scattered across 47 star systems. The humans had achieved numerical superiority through better planning and coordination. "Order all fleets to fall back to the core worlds. We'll make our stand there." But the orders never got through. Human ships had targeted the Empire's communication. Networks first, cutting off contact between different sectors. Imperial commanders found themselves fighting alone, without support or coordination. It was exactly what the humans had planned. Admiral Zhang watched the battle reports come in and allowed himself a small smile. Everything was going according to plan. The Zephyrians were reacting exactly as predicted. They were trying to use old tactics against a completely new type of enemy. "Casualty reports?" he asked. "Light across all fronts. We've lost maybe 20 ships total. The enemy has lost over 800. The numbers told the story. Human technology was superior, but more importantly, human tactics were superior. The Zephyrians had learned to fight weak enemies who would surrender quickly. Humans had learned to fight strong enemies who would never give up. "Phase 3 is authorized," Zhang announced. "Begin liberation operations." Across the Empire, human ships began broadcasting messages in local languages. They were not here to conquer, they announced. They were here to liberate worlds that had been enslaved by the Zephyrian Empire. Many of those worlds had been hoping for this day for centuries. They had waited for someone strong enough to challenge the Empire, someone who could actually win. That someone had finally arrived. The storm that broke across the Zephyrian Empire that day would be remembered for centuries. Not as the day aliens invaded, but as the day freedom came to 47 star systems. And it had taken the humans less than 24 hours to do it. Emperor Vexthanor sat alone in his throne room and listened to the sounds of battle growing closer. His palace was surrounded by his best guards, but he could hear the explosions getting nearer every hour. 72 hours ago, he had ruled the greatest empire in the galaxy. Now, he was trapped in his own capital, waiting for the end. The reports had stopped coming in yesterday. All his fleets were gone. All his fortress worlds had fallen. The mysterious humans had destroyed 3 centuries of conquest in 3 days. "My lord," his last remaining advisor whispered, "perhaps we should consider surrender terms." Vexthanor laughed bitterly. "Surrender? The Zephyrian Empire does not surrender. We have never surrendered." "My lord, we have never lost before either." It was true. In 300 years of expansion, the Empire had never faced defeat. They had conquered every race they encountered. They had become used to easy victories and quick surrenders, but these humans were different. They fought like they enjoyed it, like they had been born for war. The throne room doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the air as figures in dark armor moved through the wreckage. Their movements were smooth and coordinated, like they had done this many times before. Vexthanor's guards tried to fight back, but their plasma weapons seemed to have no effect on the human armor. The humans moved too fast, struck too precisely. In seconds, all the guards were unconscious on the floor. One of the armored figures stepped forward. The armor was black like space itself, with no decorations or markings. A helmet covered the being's face, making it impossible to see what a human looked like. "Emperor Vexthanor," a voice said from speakers in the helmet. The voice was calm and professional. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You are under arrest for crimes against sentient beings." The emperor tried to maintain his dignity even as his empire crumbled around him. I do not recognize your authority. I am the ruler of 47 star systems. Not anymore, Chen replied. Your empire is finished. Your fleets are destroyed. Your worlds are free. Through the broken doors, Vexithanor could see more human soldiers securing his palace. They moved with quiet efficiency, checking every room and corridor. These were not raiders or pirates. These were professional military forces conducting a planned operation. What do you want? He asked. Chen removed her helmet, revealing a human face for the first time. She looked young, but her eyes were old. The eyes of someone who had seen too much war. Complete surrender, she said. All military forces to stand down immediately. All conquered worlds to be granted independence. Full cooperation in transitioning power to local governments. And if I refuse? Chen's expression did not change. Then we will remove you and find someone who will cooperate. Your choice. The emperor looked around his throne room. The golden walls, the ancient tapestries showing his ancestors' victories. The symbols of power that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. All meaningless now. How? He whispered. How did you defeat us so easily? You made the same mistake every empire makes, Chen replied. You got comfortable. You forgot that there might be someone out there stronger than you. Admiral Zhang arrived at the capital world 6 hours later. His flagship dropped out of quantum space and moved slowly toward the planet. There was no resistance. The last Zephyrian fleet had surrendered without firing a shot. He found Chen in the palace command center, coordinating the liberation efforts across the former empire. Status report, he said. All major worlds secured. 43 of the 47 systems have declared independence and are setting up new governments. 3 are asking to join the Human Alliance. 1 is still deciding. Zhang nodded. It was going better than expected. Most of the conquered races remembered their freedom and wanted it back. They were welcoming the humans as liberators, not new conquerors. What about the Zephyrians themselves? Surprisingly cooperative. Most of their military commanders are following the Emperor's surrender order. A few holdouts, but nothing we can't handle. Zhang looked out the window at the Zephyrian capital, city. It was a beautiful place, with tall spires and flowing gardens. The people in the streets looked confused but not afraid. They had lived under the Empire so long that they did not know what freedom looked like. What happens now? Chen asked. It was a good question. Humanity had planned for the war, but what came after the war was more complicated. We keep our promise, Zhang said. We're liberators, not conquerors. These worlds get to choose their own future. Over the following weeks, the transformation was remarkable. Worlds that had been enslaved for centuries began to rebuild their old cultures. Languages that had been forbidden were spoken again. Religions that had been suppressed came out of hiding. The Zephyrians themselves were given a choice. They could keep their home system and live in peace, or they could face trial for their crimes during the conquest years. Most chose peace. Emperor Vexithanor chose trial. He wanted the galaxy to hear his side of the story. He wanted to explain that the Empire had brought order and civilization to primitive worlds. The trial was broadcast across all 47 star systems. Representatives from every conquered race came to testify. They told stories of families destroyed, cultures erased, entire species enslaved. The Emperor listened to it all in silence. When it was his turn to speak, he stood and looked around the courtroom. I do not apologize, he said. We brought order to chaos. We united scattered worlds under one government. We created the greatest civilization the galaxy has ever known. Judge Martinez, a human who had been chosen to oversee the trial, listened patiently. When the Emperor finished, she spoke quietly. Your Honor, you created an empire built on the suffering of others. You took freedom from billions of beings. You called it order, but it was slavery. The emperor was sentenced to life in prison. He would spend his remaining years on a small world with no technology, forced to live simply and think about what he had done. As the trial ended, Zhang stood on the balcony of the palace and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 47 worlds were learning to be free again. Some would make mistakes, some would struggle, but they would do it as free beings, not slaves. Chen joined him on the balcony. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Zhang was quiet for a moment. "We did what needed to be done. Sometimes freedom has to be taken by force from those who would deny it to others. What about Earth? What do we tell them? We tell them the truth. Humanity is no longer alone in the galaxy. We have neighbors now. Some will be friends, some might be enemies, but none of them will be slaves." The war that had lasted only 72 hours had changed everything. The galaxy had learned that empires could fall, that tyrants could be defeated, that sometimes someone would stand up to the bullies. And they had learned that when humans said they came in peace, they meant it. But when they came for war, they were very, very good at it. The dark ship that had drifted silently into Zephyrian space had indeed ended an empire in minutes. Not through destruction, but through revelation. The revelation that every empire eventually faces someone stronger. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled through fear for 3 centuries. They had taught the galaxy that resistance was useless. Humanity had taught the galaxy something different, that no empire lasts forever, that freedom is worth fighting for, and that sometimes the good guys actually win. The age of the Zephyrian Empire was over. The age of free worlds had begun.